We are back for another edition of the Mopes and Hoodies Podcast. Is it loud? How about now?
Perfect.
We're ready.
Yes, we are.
All right.
Sort of, kind of, maybe.
We're just going to run with it. So I'm Ryan.
I'm Kevin. What's up, guys? How you doing this afternoon?
We are the masterminds behind this show, although we might not be living up to wearing hoodies and wearing a full beard.
Okay. Let's take this we out of this situation and have it be the you, Ryan, because this is every episode now. You have not worn a hoodie.
We're going to put it live because I do have a hoodie in studio, so I'm going to put the hoodie on just to show you guys, okay? So we're going to live up to that. But so a lot of things happened.
Yes, they did.
The XFL is back. Plus, the MLB just inducted their 2018 Hall of Fame class.
We got some NBA rumors with some trades happening and some other action going on. We got college basketball top 25. And then also we have a bit more to talk about as we progress more into the show. And that is coming up and more on the Mopes and Hoodies Podcast. Stay tuned!
Stay tuned, guys. So huge news for football fans out there as more football is going to happen now.
Hey, more football's never a bad thing, Ryan.
The XFL's back. A lot of people are excited about it. We'll see if it actually pans out.
So, Ryan, could you explain for me and those like me who don't have a clue what the XFL is as to what it actually is? Because I have no idea.
So the XFL is basically a professional football league. Mm-hmm. Although it was played, I believe, over summer.
Okay.
Or like more, like it wasn't played during the NFL season.
Of course
they
not.
played it in big cities like Chicago, Las Vegas, and New York.
Okay.
And it was like, there was like no holds bar. It was like WWE literally on the field.
So it's real football being played by actors who wrestle, but it's actually fake wrestling. So it's going to be fake football, but real football.
Okay, not entirely. So it's not the wrestlers. Like you still have professional football players out there.
Okay.
Okay. There's many guys that have played for like, it's like the Canadian League. If you really think about it, just coming to America.
Okay.
And the guy, like, they would have their own names on the back, like, he don't like me. Like, all these crazy jersey names. They didn't have their last name on there.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the game NFL Blitz.
NFL Blitz. That's the epitome of what it is. Okay? So, now, they're bringing it back. It failed before. Vince McMahon is a businessman.
Okay.
This is his one failure. Think about it. If you're a successful guy, you're like, you know what, I want to make good on the last thing that I failed on. He's bringing it back. And I think it's a good time to bring it back. To be honest with you, what's going on with the NFL and the ratings dropping.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Coming from a person who, like I said, has literally no idea what it's about, I will just say that more football is never a bad thing, unless it's NFL Thursday Night Football, but that's a discussion for another day. But more football is never going to be a bad thing, so I guess we shall see when it will be and where it's going to be played on, because I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that it's going to be on TV. It better not be that stupid pay-per-view crap that everything else is on these days, because I refuse to pay extra money for that. Already paying the cable bill, that should be enough. Mm-hmm. So Just please just don't do that. If you're going to have this league, please just put it on regular television.
Well, they have 2 years to do it. They're going to relaunch in 2020. Vince McMahon, obviously, like I said, is extremely excited about it. And we'll see. If he brings in guys like, we brought him up last show, Johnny Manziel, who I think should be the face of that.
Johnny Manziel, admittedly, would be a fantastic name to have doing that. Yeah.
Then you got guys, bring back Chad Johnson, bring back Tara Lowens.
God.
Let's get a league of its own.
No, instead of the XFL, it's going to be the RFL, retired football league.
Retired football.
You're gonna bring all the old coots back. You might as well take all the guys that are in the studio on Fox and ESPN. Just say, hey, you think you can still play? Go out and do it.
Right.
And then then they're gonna last 2 plays, and they're gonna break a bone, and then that's gonna be it. So
I don't know. It's just exciting for new football. So let's get into the MLB with their inductees of the 2018
MLB,
Hall of Fame.
Admittedly, I am not the biggest baseball fan in the world, I will freely admit. Honestly, I think the game nowadays it's too slow. It is boring to watch on television, and I just don't. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I just don't like watching it as much anymore. Maybe it's because of all the names that we grew up on. They're these guys that are starting to be in the running for Hall of Fame, But this year we had 4 really good names. Chipper Jones. I mean, Chipper Jones was all around he was just a really good 19-year career.
Oh yeah.
And most of that was with the Braves. I mean, obviously he's going to go into the Hall of Fame as a Brave. Mm-hmm. Let's see. He hit a total of 468 home runs, over 2,700 hits, 1,600 RBIs, 150 stolen bases, a career batting average of 303, on-base percentage of 400, slugging percentage of 530. But, Ryan, the stat that I think I told you this before we started out the show, wins above replacement. So that's WAR, and basically, people, for those who don't know what wins above replacement is, so if I take Chipper Jones out of the game and he's not starting for me, I would have lost 85 games had I not. He was responsible for 85 wins during his career by himself.
That's good stats, man.
Then Vladimir Guerrero, again, I believe he's going to be going in as an Expo. Mm-hmm. He might be going in as an Expo. That's debated whether he's going to go as an Expo, Dodgers, Angels, because he spent significant time with all 3. And let's see. Vlad Guerrero, 2,500 hits, 449 home runs, just under 1,500 RBIs, 180 stolen bases. Again, really good all-around hitter, right-handed hitter. Jim Thome, Chicago's own.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what he goes in, because I think he spent the majority of his career as an Indian, but, he also spent some time with the Phillies, spent some time with the White Sox.
I believe the Angels, too.
Did he?
Yeah.
I bet that was probably at the tail end of his career.
Yeah.
612 home runs, 2,300 hits, 1,700 RBIs. I can't believe the man actually stole 19 bases at one point. So
that's news to me.
Hey, it's 19 more bases stolen than me. So
right.
And then closer Trevor Hoffman. Trevor Hoffman in his day was one of the best to ever do it in his time. 600 saves. So that's no small feat. Let's see. Chipper Jones and Jim Thome were also put on the first ballot, which is a pleasant surprise, because I know there's been a stigma the last several years that the baseball writers don't tend to put guys in on the first ballot, especially when they were in the height of the steroid era. So, Ryan, I don't know. What do you think about those names? Because I agree with all 4 of those names.
Well, so you just brought up the 4 guys that are in there. They totally deserve to be in there. Okay,
yes,
I'm not denying that.
Yep.
But you also brought on the steroid era.
Yep.
Okay, so Jim Thome was a part of that. There's only 9 people that have ever gotten past 600 home runs. Do you know who they are?
Let me take a guess. Well, Tome's obviously one of them.
Okay.
I'll say Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Barry Bonds. Let me think. Alex Rodriguez.
There you go.
How many is that? Was that 4 or 5?
5.
All right, 5. So I got 1 more.
Oh no, you got 2 more.
Oh, I got 2 more.
Yeah.
Frank Thomas.
Nope.
Mark McGwire.
Nope. You want me to tell you?
Is Sammy Sosa one of them?
There we go. Okay.
All right, Sammy Sosa, and the last one. Oh Jesus, I have no idea. I mean, you know what? I'm just gonna go out on a limb. I'll just say.
Played for the Mariners.
Junior. Griffey Jr.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, and Willie Mays. So those 9 guys.
Not Willie Mays Hayes, though, right? Just Willie Mays?
Just Willie Mays. Okay, he had 660. But those 9 guys, they're in there. So you mentioned all of them. There's 2 guys that have not been inducted in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds.
Yep.
Oh, and Alex Rodriguez, so that's 3, and Sammy Sosa.
Well, in Alex Rodriguez's defense, he's also not eligible for it. Barry Bonds this year, just quick, don't want to interrupt you, Ryan. He did receive about 56% of the vote this year, so that's up. So his numbers are starting to go up. So hopefully,
well, it's his 6th time on the ballot.
Yeah, it is, which is disappointing. It's the same thing with Roger Clemens,
which is another guy.
Yep.
And I think somebody has to give it to the committee. Somebody has to tell them, like, what's going on here, because there's guys that deserve to be in there. I get it that it's a steroid era. Okay, we're not denying that, but these guys did put in a lot of work to be where they were.
And this was on David Kaplan's show. I believe it was 2 weeks ago, and they had this discussion that he said that if he had a vote, which he doesn't, which he made clear that he doesn't, he would refuse to vote for anyone in the steroid era. And I said, shame on you for anybody who thinks that way. Because you know why? The 90s and the 2000s and the early 2000s, baseball was dying in this country. It was dying.
Well, that's why we're bringing this up.
And guess what? And do you know who saved baseball in the 90s? Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa's chase for the home run record.
Yes.
That saved baseball. And by saying that you outright refuse to vote for anybody who was even suspected to have taken steroids, you are denying that era of baseball ever existed.
Mind you, not to cut you off, but Sammy Sosa never was caught doing steroids.
Sammy Sosa was never charged. He was never failed a drug test, which is why Tom Ricketts, the owner, when people continuously ask, when's he going to be invited back to Cubs convention? Oh, when he admits that he did wrong. What did he do wrong? Sammy Sosa has his entire post-career has denied that he has done anything wrong. Guess what? The worst thing this man ever did was use a cork bat.
Right. And this is Sammy hitting the NLCS
exactly
game 1 to tie the game for a home run.
Okay, the cork bat, I don't really understand what the whole point was behind it, and honestly, it was pretty stupid if you ask me. But guess what? Shame on you, Tom Ricketts, for taking one of the best players in your franchise's history before you were even in the picture to own the team. You weren't even in the picture to own the team. And instead, you say, no, we're not inviting you back.
Right.
That is complete and utter garbage. That is garbage, and everyone like you should be banned from having anything to do with baseball. Because saying that Sammy Sosa doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, saying that Mark McGwire doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, or Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds. Guess what? If you're going to say Roger Clemens can't be in the Hall of Fame, you better make sure Andy Pettit's not in the Hall of Fame either. Because Andy Pettitte snitched on him. And guess what? Andy Pettitte is one of the greatest postseason pitchers to ever do it. If the eye test doesn't catch your eyes, then guess what? The analytics test will. You put that man in game 2. That man has lost one game 2 in a series in his entire postseason career.
Right.
Barry Bonds, you're going to ignore the fact. Now, Barry Bonds is a separate case. Barry Bonds was going to get in the Hall of Fame whether he took steroids or not. And guess what? He admitted that he did.
Right.
And you're going to say, oh, yeah, you're going to make him sweat it out and have him wait 10 years, 15 years to get in the Hall of Fame? No, that's garbage. That's garbage. Alex Rodriguez, guess what? A-Rod's probably going to have to wait a long time to get in the Hall of Fame, too. I guarantee it. He's going to have to take forever to wait to get in the Hall of Fame, too.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude, Sammy Sosa, let's just agree on this, deserves to be in there, and the Cubs should invite him back. It's blasphemous for you not to let him back. He's a 7-time All-Star, MVP, 6-time Silver Slugger winner. Sorry about that.
Silver Slugger.
But he deserves to be in there. It's just complete ludicrous that he's not. It's terrible that the Cubs don't even bring him back. This guy deserves to be back.
And again, I will say, Tom Ricketts was not even in the picture when this incident with Sammy Sosa happened. You know, where he had the fit and he left that game early for whatever reason. Guess what? You weren't in the picture. You have no right to deny him re-entry to a team that he gave everything to.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Who else were you going to the ballpark? Who were you going?
It was for Sammy Sosa.
Who were you going to go see in the late 90s, early 2000s? Now, obviously, you know, that team that went to the NLCS, that team, you know, had Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood, all those guys. That's something else entirely. But before that, who the hell were you paying to go see?
Right.
You were paying to see Sammy Sosa, and that's about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He got them so much notoriety from the time he was here, with home runs hitting out of the park.
And think about how much money they have made off of him.
Which makes it even more of an argument. You have this, I love baseball, running around with this American flag. You know, I'll never forget the guy. He's honestly my favorite baseball player to ever play, and he's my favorite Cub. Okay, so that's the reason why it really touches my heartstrings. The reason why he's not in there.
Ryan, why do we still have this music playing?
Because we gotta hear it, baby. We gotta get ready for we gotta get ready for the next World Series. All right, it's coming up, guys. Believe. Go Cubs, go! I'm about to start singing.
See, I don't agree with my esteemed colleague. As I said, I'm not the biggest baseball fan. I will admit, I'm not going to pretend that I'm otherwise. I do, however, recognize great players, and Sammy Sosa is a great player. Now, if you're going to ask me what team I would root for, I would have to say it's the White Sox.
Oh, okay.
And hey, say what you want. Yes, did they have the one anomaly year in 2005? Absolutely, and that team was awesome.
Well,
best pitching staff best postseason pitching staff of all time.
Fully agree with that. But okay, since we're on this talk of Hall of Fame players,
yep.
What do you think about Pete Rose?
Again, Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. And guess what? If you want to have it in a separate section, if you want to have an asterisk next to these guys' names, saying this is why they're in this certain section or whatever, that's totally fine. But you are not going to tell me that you're just going to try to get people to forget the fact that Pete Rose had more hits than anybody else.
I mean, he's got so many records in the record books.
And you're just going to say that, oh, yeah, so he gambled on baseball. So he bet on baseball. Guess what? The man didn't bet when he was a player. And he bet his own team to win. That was the biggest thing about it. He bet on his team to win. Isn't that what, as a manager, if you want to do? Is you want to bet on your team to win? Right. I'm sorry, I just don't see the problem with it. I'm sorry, I just don't see the issue with it. Maybe it's because our generation, Ryan, is more desensitized to gambling in professional sports. Because, I mean, guess what? The odds in Vegas, we hear it every week, you know, when other people on Sports Talk Radio, they're going over the numbers and what the line is for Game X and Game Z and all this for Team A and Team B.
Right.
But it's not that big of a deal. Because guess what? No matter how much money, these guys are professional athletes. There is no way that they are going to purposely lose games. Because you know what happens when they start losing and they don't perform? They get fired.
Yeah, you're cut, you're gone.
You get fired.
You're gone.
Exactly.
Oh, well, I mean, there's so many guys, like, we can go on for days about who should be in there, who should not. Congrats to the people
there's a bunch of, I just want to bring up a bunch of names, you know, from our generation that have been on the ballot. I mean, Kurt Schilling, the Bloody Sox on there. Manny Ramirez had his second year on the ballot. Gary Sheffield, Scott Rowland. Oh, yeah, Cardinals fans will love that name. Scott Rowland, the Cubs' arch enemy for the longest time. Chris Carpenter had his first year on the ballot this year. Johan Santana, Johnny Damon, Hideki Matsui, Kerry Wood, Carlos Lee.
There's a lot of guys in there that they're going to be in there any day now.
Big Z had his first year on the ballot
Zambrano,
this year.
Yeah.
He didn't
Zambrano was down there.
Didn't get any votes, but
it's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So let's get into you want to talk about the Patriots a little bit, Patriots Eagles, just a little bit, not a preview. Like we'll come back, but do you want to? Are the Patriots, if they win the Super Bowl, are they the greatest dynasty?
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes.
You don't even want to debate the Chicago Bulls, the Celtics.
Oh, we're talking about the greatest dynasty in all professional sports.
Ever. Yes.
You know, Ryan, honestly, I would say yes. Because think about it this way. So the Celtics in, what was that? That's the 70s. They were the team of the 70s. There was no semblance of free agency. There wasn't free agency as we know it now until the late 90s. So guess what? The Celtics, you didn't have to deal with guys going out on new contracts, going to new teams, this, that. And you had arguably top 5 player of all time. But you had Bob Cousy. Mm-hmm. You had Bill Russell. That they had the best team. There's 6 Hall of Famers on that team of the 70s. 6.
Right.
Your 6th man is a Hall of Famer. So, granted, yes, absolutely a great dynasty. The Lakers of the 80s, the Showtime Lakers, again, great dynasty, but they didn't have free agency to worry about.
Right.
The Bulls, yeah, they had a little bit of free agency, but guess what? They just got better, and you know why? Because they had 2 staples. They had Scotty and they had Michael. Didn't have to worry about them going anywhere. And then, but the Patriots, the way the NFL is structured, it is so hard to just be that good for that long. You don't see coaches, even just the coaches. Bill Belichick now, yeah, say what you want. Belichick's a genius, blah, blah. You don't see a coach stay with one team that long.
Right.
The only one I can think of is Marvin Lewis for unknown reasons as to why he's still in Cincinnati. Because he can't win a damn playoff game. But Bill Belichick, 10 wins. Guess what the Patriots are guaranteed at least? 10 wins and a playoff spot every year.
Well, 10 wins, yeah, I'll agree with you on that. Playoff. But they've always been in a weak division. Okay, and if I had to bring up a whole bunch, well, for the last 10 years at least, they have been in a weak division. You can't deny that. Okay, but hold on. So there's a whole bunch of dynasties that I would bring up.
Yep.
Okay, now we live in what we see now is what we think is the greatest.
Yes.
And that's why it's a tough conversation, because no matter what, the game evolves.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of people don't really take in consideration. Like, I will always say Jordan was better than LeBron. Okay.
Well, yes, because he is.
But LeBron is also playing in probably different. They all play in different eras, so it's hard to bring up the greatest of all time. Jordan is the greatest of all time.
Well, yeah,
let's not get that to parse. So let's not get sidetracked. But I would bring up the Bulls.
Okay.
Of the 90s, okay? Because they could have knocked out 7 in a row.
They could have if Michael didn't decide that he got bored and wanted to play baseball.
Right. Come on, Michael. And then you have the Celtics. You already brought them up.
Showtime Lakers. I will also say it's from our generation too, but I will say the Blackhawks.
I wanted to bring up the Blackhawks
because
that's kind of biased.
The Blackhawks, though, hockey is different because of. Now, yes, the NFL has a salary cap. The NBA has. They don't have the salary cap like the NHL does. The NHL has a hard cap, and they punish you for going over it. The NBA, you don't even dip in. You don't even get a penalty for the luxury tax unless you go in 2 years in a row.
Right.
Which is why teams can afford these astronomical salaries and nothing happens to them. But the NHL is another thing. So, the Red Wings of the 90s and the 2000s. The big red machine of the 90s and the 2000s.
You gotta bring up the Red Wings?
I know. Chicagoland, please forgive me. That is the ultimate enemy. I know. You could bring up the Montreal Canadiens, the Edmonton Oilers. If we're talking about hockey, we could talk about Gretzky's Oilers.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of dynasties.
Yep.
And to come back to that question, yeah, you have to say the Patriots, if they win, they're the greatest dynasty of all time.
At the very least, they're the greatest dynasty in NFL history. Yeah. Because, yes, the Steel Curtain, people will bring up the Steel Curtain. Steel Curtain was nice, but that offense fed off their defense. That offense fed off their defense, and they didn't have a quarterback like Brady. Right. They didn't have a quarterback who could take. How many people? What people did he have that were on more than one Super Bowl team? Now, yes, he's had Gronk.
Just look at the wide receiving core that he had.
The wide receiver core he has had has changed all the time.
The only person that you really could, recognize from year to year was Gronk. I mean, you had Wes for a couple years there. Yep. You had Amendola.
Danny Amendola's been around for a little bit.
Right.
I mean, Chris Hogan's emerged as
but they're all coming out of nowhere. You know, they always have these wide receivers that come in like for 3-4 years and they do really good.
And then they go somewhere else, and then they're either okay or they just fade out into obscurity.
Right.
The only person I think that really did anything was Deion Branch. Had a nice career for himself, Super Bowl MVP. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Randy Moss. But Randy Moss never won a Super Bowl with the Patriots. He was there when they lost to the Giants.
That's a travesty.
Yes, it is.
He is a monster. But we already brought it up. I mean, the Patriots, year after year, they're always in there. That's why you got to, if they're the greatest dynasty, Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time.
If Tom Brady wins this Super Bowl,
there's no denying.
There is no denying. I don't care who anybody else brings up. Joe Montana, I understand. Joe Montana's one of the best ever. Guess what? He's not as good as Brady. He's not.
That argument's gone.
He's not, because you know what? Joe Montana also had the benefit of being in the West Coast offense from the master of the West Coast offense and Bill Walsh. He had Roger Craig, who was Marshall Faulk before Marshall Faulk, and he had these two dudes that are in the Hall of Fame for a reason. He had Dave Casper, one of the best tight ends to ever do it, and then he had this guy called someone named Jerry Rice,
greatest ever,
greatest receiver of all time. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, that argument is gone.
I still know people, Ryan, that try to tell me that they'd rather have Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers over Brady.
Get out. Do they realize that Aaron Rodgers has only had one? One.
And I understand how good Aaron Rodgers is, but if you are telling me that my life is on the line and I need someone to go down the field and get me a touchdown, give me Brady every time.
And
every time.
H seems to never catch up to him, man. I mean, we're talking about another Super Bowl, and if he comes back, which we know he's going to come back again next year, what happens with the front office with Kraft and Belichick.
He's not going anywhere.
I don't believe he's going to go anywhere anyway. But when they come back next year, they're going to be favorited again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a monopoly going on in the NFL. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, the Patriots, which they have been caught cheating.
People are sick of the Patriots. Well, guess what? If you're so sick of the Patriots winning, beat them. And people
fully agree with that.
And people that bring up Deflategate, let me tell you something. Tom Brady played better in that second half against Indianapolis than he did in the first half with the regulation footballs. And I told everybody else this. When he comes back in that season following that, he is going to come back with a vengeance. And guess who he got to play? The first week back, he got to play the Indianapolis Colts. I said, I feel sorry for you.
Yep.
Because you pissed off the one guy in the NFL you don't want to piss off. He threw for like 400 yards and 6 touchdowns and didn't miss a beat. You know why? Because he's the best of all time. End of discussion.
Well, it's like you don't poke the bear when it comes in. They did it with Jordan. They don't do it with Brady. You don't want to piss him off.
You don't.
Because he's going to go off on you.
But guess what? They did. So now that we're both in agreement that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, and we're just going to put that to bed because, well, it's our show and we can do whatever we want. Ryan, you want to talk about the NBA a little bit?
Yeah, tell me something about it.
Well,
enlighten me.
Well, obviously the Bulls have sort of regressed a little bit. If by regressed you mean that they're actually getting back into the tanking mode because they've lost a couple
reality is setting in.
And, I mean, you pretty much knew that this really wasn't going to be that big of a surprise because, I mean, they weren't going to be able to stay that hot for that long. But this from out of the latest trade rumors is that the Bulls are just about done finalizing a trade with the Pelicans. But, Ryan, you might, and anyone else who's followed the Bulls for a number of years, especially in the Tom Thibodeau era, you'll probably get a kick out of this. Mm-hmm. The Bulls are interested in trading Nikola Mirotic for Omer Asik.
What?
Yes.
They're bringing him back?
Yes, the Bulls are going to are right now proposing a trade to trade Mirotic to the Pelicans for Omer Asik, who, if you remember correctly, they already had.
Get out. You got to be kidding me. What, guys? We know, we need to do something here, man. I mean, look at the Pistons. They just made a huge trade.
It's laughable. And you know what's the worst part about it is that the trade hasn't gone through yet. It hasn't been finalized yet. But the whole thing is what else are you going to get? If that's all you're getting, then what are you doing?
Well, a lot of this is rumor talk. I mean, even if that is the case, it's rumor talk. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, we see a guy from San Antonio, you know, Kawhi Leonard. He's rumored to be gone as well, traded.
Yep.
But is that really going to happen?
No.
I don't know. But if they're bringing back a guy that we already had, what's the point?
I don't know.
I mean, that's going to... If I'm a fan, you know, which I obviously am, the Bulls are 18 and 32 right now.
That's Garpax for you.
What are we doing bringing back another guy? Like, Luol Deng, I used to say I want to bring back Luol Deng. But now I'm like, all right, well, old news.
Guess what? Bring him back once he's retired. Bring him back as an ambassador, whatever it is that you want to do. Mm-hmm. And, Ryan, not to push us through, but I did just want to touch real quick on something that has been in not just the sports news cycle, but the news cycle in general, and that is what is going on up at East Lansing in Michigan State. We have this video for you briefly.
I want to make clear. Sir, you knew you had a problem. That is clear to me. You knew you had a problem from a very young age, even before you were a doctor. You could have taken yourself away from temptation, and you did not. But worse yet, there isn't a survivor who hasn't come in here and said how world-renowned you were. I trust what they say. You could have gone anywhere in the world to be treated. You could have gone to any resort, any doctor place where you could get treatment. In Europe, they have all sorts of hidden places for things like this. No one had to know, and you could have found some treatment, some help, taken some medicine. You would have done that if you had cancer. I know you would have. You're about self-preservation. But you decided to not address.
This is the video that they're, you know.
And folks, we are going to be posting the link to that video to our Instagram page and also our Twitter page in case any of you want to listen to that video in its entirety. And we are going to be posting more information about it. But for those of you who don't know, it has been now confirmed that it's 150 women were in court to testify
Disgusting.
for his abuse over the last 2 decades. Sentenced up to sentence, I believe, to a total now of 60 years in prison. And I'm sorry, but there is no excuse for that. There is no excuse for it. It is wrong. It is sick. It is disgusting. It is amoral. No, not amoral, immoral. And Ryan, I did believe when I first heard about this, I was driving home from work, and I said heads are going to roll not just at Michigan State, but at a level above that at the USOC. The entirety of the board of trustees for USA Gymnastics has stepped down, and I guess the USOC said that if you don't step down, the gymnastics is not going to be sponsored as a Olympic sport anymore.
Well, if you knew anything about this scandal that was going on, you should step down. You should be out. And you should be ashamed of yourself.
There is no excuse for it. And folks, what I'm about to say could be considered very graphically disturbing. That the youngest girl, it started at age 6. 6.
Just disgusting, dude.
6 years old. Just think about that. That you could do that to a 6-year-old, a 12-year-old, a girl that's 13, 15, 17. That is ridiculous. And shame on the people of United States Gymnastics, and especially shame on those at Michigan State who knew, and you decide to cover your own ass. Mm-hmm. That is ridiculous. It is unexcusable. And guess what, Ryan? If you're asking me, they should be criminally charged also.
Oh, yeah.
They should be criminally, because they're just as much as fault as Nasser is.
Yeah.
Because while you didn't encourage it, you did nothing to stop it. You did nothing while these while these women suffered in silence for some as much as 20 years. That is someone's wife, daughter, sister, cousin.
What's been requested of me?
The longer this stuff goes on, too, the more it's going to come out. It's a reminder that, there's some disgusting people that are out there. It reminds me of the Penn State scandal. With Sandusky. It's just hard to hear. It's disgusting. And again, we're going to see what's going to happen with that organization over in Michigan State.
And the worst part about it is that the president tried to cover it up like it was no big deal. And Brian, we watched that video before we came on the air as well. That just seemed the president of Michigan State just doesn't get it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that she is a woman that's mind-boggling to me. Right. I guess I don't want to say that you'd expect it if it was a man, because if it was me, I would have blown the whistle on it in a heartbeat. At least I like to think I would. Yeah. But the fact that you are a woman and you see your fellow females being subjugated to this and you did nothing, it just baffles my mind. It baffles my mind. Yeah. And there's some high-profile gymnasts that were involved in this, too. Over 104 of them, Michaela Maroney, Simone Biles, the most recent Olympic world champion, Gabby Douglas, another all-around winner, Allie Raceman, another all-around winner, Jordan Weber. These are not some no-name gymnasts that didn't make it on the Olympic stage. These are big-time athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just hard to, fathom, and I hate that we're going to conclude on a sad note.
Exactly. Folks, again, if you have any comments and would like to share your thoughts with either Ryan or myself, you can contact us directly at the Mopes and Hoodies Instagram page and our Twitter page as well. You can look us up through our Instagram page and our Twitter pages because we both obviously follow our show. Mm-hmm. If you have any comments, any questions to where you might be able to learn more information, please do not hesitate to reach out, and we'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, guys. So, but again, we got to conclude. We got to finish it off.
We got through another show, everybody. We got through another show.
Kevin's beard's coming back.
It is! I'm so happy!
And you know what? We're going to conclude. I'm going to actually do this live. We're going to do this live right now.
Are we?
All right? Yeah, we're going to do this live. I'm going to put a hoodie on.
Do you want me to hold the camera?
Yes. All right, I'm going to put a hoodie on. Hopefully you guys can hear me, all right?
All right. Ryan is indeed. He's going into the back. He does have a hoodie.
I'm doing it for the Mopes and Hoodies. All right?
And here he is. He is going with, looks like a Bass Pro Shop black hoodie. Relatively standard.
We got a catch. We do have
a catch. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this edition of the Mopes and Hoodies podcast. We will have this up on YouTube for you shortly. Again, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Mopes and Hoodies. And we shall see you next time on the Mopes and Hoodies show.
Conclude. All right, see you guys.